Is being fat a choice? Middle ground. I don't know why did they add middle ground, but this is a video by Jubilee. And we watched a couple of their videos. They have interesting debates and discussions, so it's always interesting to kind of jump into them. And if you ask me, what do I personally think about being fat? Guys, look at me. I don't want to brag, but I actually think I'm in a good physical condition, if we can describe one so. And I could be fat. I could eat a lot. I could not exercise. I could waste times, precious times of my young age, and just not care about my physical body. And I've seen a lot of even my colleagues who are like students, they're like in their early 20s, and they're fat. They're actually fat. So when someone tells you that is being fat a choice, yes, it's often a choice. A choice that someone doesn't do intentionally, but it's still a choice. And without further ado, let's jump in to this reaction.
I'm sorry, there's a big
Yeah.
difference between the people who are telling people go out and get fat versus a Lizzo who's saying accept me the way I am.
She's not just saying accept me the way I am, she's dressing extremely scantily clad and then saying if you don't think that it's normal for a morbidly obese person to be wearing a G-string in the middle of public, then you're the problem.
I'm going to probably put this on 125, not because I am like I remember I got confronted on the interview with Putin that I put out on 125 so no one would understand. No, it's just that the video is like super long and long reactions usually don't do well. So let's do it in a shorter way, but still in an understandable one.
Being fat or skinny is a choice.
Really. Only 63. I mean, I don't want to sound rude, but if you join Jubilee's Patreon, probably you're kind of more of a leftist, and you would support this idea of no, middle, like being fat is not a choice. It's something that we're all born with. Although I would find it interesting if, because I think that the debate is going to be built that, okay, fat people are. Oh no, actually, it's like always depending on the question. Like I would really love if a fat person would defend that it's not a choice, and then a skinny one would defend that yeah, it's no, a skinny person should say that it's not a choice, and a fat person should say it's a choice. That would make of a great discussion.
Agreeers?
Being fat is a choice. Oh, the fat guy.
Of course, not every factor is purely choice. I don't think that every factor is, but I do think a majority of it is. And in most cases, for most people.
Okay, no, they talk too fast. I can't watch it on 125. I'm sorry.
Being skinny or being fat is about willpower. It's about the environment you grow up in, sure, but who you choose to associate with, what sort of things you choose to listen to, who you choose to kind of have as your friends around you and support you. All of those things are choices that you can make that will lead you closer towards being one or the other.
I know what I do with my body. I know what I put into it.
Absolutely correct, Dominic. See, and I'm not shaming him. He's absolutely right on this take.
Day in and day out, I choose not to eat some days. I choose, how I want to look, and I don't fault anyone for how they want to look or how they want to be, but I think it's a choice at the end of the day. I'm very, always wish-washy on how I want to be presented and if I want to gain weight or not. But the only person that's going to gain the weight at the end of the day is me and me myself.
For me, it's calories in, calories out. Go to the gym, you'll get buff. Don't go to the gym, you won't get buff. I understand that there's genetics that could cause you to want to eat more, but even with the genetics that cause you to want to eat more, the same solution is calories in, calories out.
I think that...
Or you simply are a tough person and you say, no, I don't eat. Like, what do you mean genetics provoke you to eat more? Just don't eat. I don't know. Put your fridge on a safe code. Don't buy any food. Like, there's certain ways that you can figure out how to like avoid eating extra. And listen, I'm also a person who loves to eat, but for example, I don't eat breakfast in the mornings. I understood that. Well, not because I'm skinny, not because I'm fat. I actually understood it from a different perspective. But sometimes I want to go and grab a bite of something in the morning. But I settle myself that, okay, I am not going to be doing this for like particular reasons. And usually until 3 or 4 p.m., I just don't eat. It genuinely is that simple because I did like this. And the funniest thing is that when I was on a holiday, for example, I would eat on the breakfast and it would be absolutely okay. So why? Because it was my choice. You know, I was on a holiday, they offer breakfast, I accepted. Like it will always be a choice.
The whole choice is, always determined on who they are, and it's not going to just be a thing done overnight.
Yeah, yeah.
It takes a lot of, I think it's like breaking the
Takes a
barrier
lot of choices.
and breaking a lot of things, not only your body, but also breaking your mental state.
Sure.
And again, that depends on who you are and what you want to go through.
Disagreeers?
Okay, let's go. The
I felt like as a toddler, I always viewed myself as big. I grew up in a very like poor home, so where my mom couldn't provide the meals that she could healthily. So when we would get like free meals, even then it would be like canned food, and it would be like very much food that's not as edible. It was food for us, yes, but then I felt like once it reached a point where I was old enough to try to make my own choices, I made all of the wrong choices. I wasn't eating, and I was only eating like grapes and lettuce, and that was mainly because I was in a sport, and that sport just worked me out so hard. And it was to the point where I just was scared to eat. I didn't like it. I would only drink water.
When you were eating grapes and lettuce, were you thin?
I was the thinnest I could be.
Were you still big though?
I was still big, but that was the skinniest I've ever been. And that's coming from somebody who was only eating.
Can I see the pictures? Again, I'm trying to understand, like, okay, you were as skinny as you could. Like, I don't want to talk bad on her, for example. Yeah, especially if you listen to her past. But trust me, but I have seen footages of people who, oh yeah, I forgot this word. I have to Google it quickly. Who were captured by the Russians in the Ukrainian-Russian war, and they haven't eaten for a long while, and those are like, big men, you know, and the weight that they have lost, like they got so skinny. So if she's saying that the only thing she actually the only thing she actually consumed was water, and she was still big. I want to see the pictures. I genuinely want to see the pictures. Maybe, I don't know, maybe she has like this mentality problem where, if she's like not a super skinny model like this thin, then she's big. And it could be because a lot of the people that are fat, they actually have this problem that, they always think that, okay, I'm still that big. I gotta push more. Well, so I want to see them. I want to see the pictures.
Somewhat salads that are just fruit and lettuce and water and maybe ice right before a practice.
Do you think that right now you would not be capable of becoming a thin woman if
I
you wanted to?
possibly would be capable of becoming a thin woman, but
Since I choose not to do some certain aspects, I won't. Why do you disagree then that it's a choice?
was young, I was supposed to get blood tested probably when I was very, very young, and I never did. And they had mentioned that it could have been because of my weight and how that connects with my thyroid. I never made the connection, and I never had like that like leaning parent to be like, go and get checked out, go and do this, like your weight is probably not your fault. It was always like, your weight is your fault, so that's your issue.
I mean, I also struggle with thyroid and my own blood issues. I'm not quite sure, but I do see an endocrinologist and I go see a doctor. It's a choice to do the requisite steps. It's a choice to go grocery shopping instead of going to fast food when it's easy. It's a choice when you're grocery shopping to go to the outer aisles and not go into the bread section and not go into the junk food section. These are all choices.
As a disabled woman,
To be fair, like I eat a lot of bread. I think 40% definitely of what I consume is bread. Well, I don't know. I'm proud of myself, at least for now. I could be better, but the shape I'm in, I'm actually proud of myself.
I can't do a lot of the things that people say, calories in, calories out, oh, you got to go work out and exert it. A lot of the things that are typical, oh, this is how you lose weight, put me in the hospital. I have to navigate weight differently. I have to look at it differently. My weight is the way it is because of medication, because doctors put me in this position. And I had to learn, okay, am I going to be so hateful of my own body that I am going to backlash and put myself through extreme gym nights, through keeping myself from eating things that I should be able to eat. You should be able to have a balance. You should be able to go into the junk food aisle like other skinny people do and still not have to worry about gaining 20 pounds.
But I don't think skinny people.
Yeah, but if you cannot do it, then sorry, you're not able to do it. I mean, if listen, if I don't know, let's say if Lionel Messi can come to World Cup camp overweight and then throughout the camp lose weight and win the World Cup, then he's allowed to come overweight. If you are, I don't know, Romelu Lukaku, I don't know if a lot of you people know who he is, and you come overweight and you can't win the World Cup, well, then you can't come overweight. You have to keep yourself in shape, and that is the difference. I have an interesting story about food eating, but I'll probably tell it later when it will be the better time.
People
Not
go
all
into
people.
this junk food aisle.
They
I think
certainly
Yes,
do.
they do.
I eat a lot of junk food.
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot. Of junk
Yeah.
I mean, my DoorDash would tell you otherwise. Like,
There's a thing called set points. There's a ton of research on it that your body likes to be at specific weights. It likes to be in a specific way. So if you are fighting yourself to lose weight by not eating, over exercising,
What do you mean my body likes specific? Like, I do kind of I am trying to understand what she's saying because, again, I'm thinking only from my perspective. I think that I have a comfortable weight and I can compare it even to like a year or two ago. But I wouldn't say that I felt discomfortable in that weight. It's just that right now I feel much, much better. And your body decides. Don't you have a head for this? Don't you really understand what is the way that fits you? Because if your body simply controls, well, that's scary. That is really scary. If it's only purely based on your body that you decide if you are skinny or fat. Well, yeah, that's frightening because you have no control of it.
and you are damn near killing yourself to be at a specific weight, your body's unhappy.
It's important to note that a choice can be harder for people to make due to conditions in their life.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it's still a choice. I could say that I had food addiction. I looked to food when I was stressed and this and that and this. And so it's harder for me to choose it than for someone who has like the perfect lifestyle, someone who has parents who are giving them this and that and this. But I definitely still acknowledge that it was my choice. At the end of the day, when I go there and I look and I see, should I order a second hamburger? I'm the one choosing whether or not I order that second hamburger. I'm the one making.
I like Dominic. He's taking full self accountability. That's actually like respect. I will even applaud him because he's saying like, yeah, I'm fat, but at the end of the day, I could probably have done better choices, but it was me doing them. Respect, man.
Making that choice.
I'm skipping adverts. I would rather be skinny than fat. Okay, if 8 out of 8 don't come into this, I might as well just quit the stream.
Be skinny than fat. Can the agreeers please step forward?
Dominic. Oh, I love this guy. I'm gonna find him on Instagram.
I
DM
think
him.
there's a lot of different struggles when it comes to being a bit bigger. And I have a sister that is
Wait, before Jada speaks, do they keep their Instagrams? Jubilee. Ah, here's Dominic. I'm gonna call. I'm gonna text him afterwards. I'm gonna text him after the stream.
very, like, she's 400 pounds and she struggles a lot. She has lymphedema and to shower is really, really hard. So I do think for like an overall happy life and like zero struggle, I think I'd rather be skinny.
I think that it is common in society to want to be skinny. I think the average person typically wants to be skinny. I'm actually surprised that I didn't see more people come forward on that question.
People not necessarily want to be like, they don't want to be super skinny. They don't want to be like this thin, but they want to look well. Yeah, so that other people acknowledge their beautifulness. And also, they want to feel comfortable inside their body. I don't believe that fat people really feel comfortable because they run slower, they move slower, they think slower, which is also a scientific proof. Like, so the two factors, the society view, the outside, and the internal view, the things that you can understand from yourself, they both combine to the fact that, well, probably you would prefer to have less weight than more weight.
Will treat you better. It is
I'm curious, what will the skin guys say about this?
what is considered the standard of beauty. Your life expectancy is longer. You tend to be healthier.
I'm also really tall. I'm 6'6", so I kind of
Yeah, that's tall. I'm 6 foot or maybe one. So yeah.
wish I could just pick a single struggle because finding the clothes and things like that when you're bigger both ways can make it really
Oh,
hard. So
yeah.
if I was skinnier, at least that's one less thing I have to worry about. But also, I've got 2 kids and a wife, and
Oh,
I'm taking
nice.
care of them. And as you pointed out, I definitely think that I'm at less health risks if I'm a skinnier person.
Nice. I can see why, like, this guy. This guy has a wife and kids. So you see, like, what I'm trying to prove is that, yeah, he can be fat, but at least he is self accountable, and I think this is even more important than any other quality you can find from a person in this world, because oh, that person, it actually knows what it's doing,
If I'm a healthier
even if it's doing sometimes the wrong thing.
person in that capacity, and I would much rather be that so that I could be around for my kids longer.
Can the disagreeers please step
nice.
forward?
He's thinking about kids. I think we had we had a stream last week about dinks. Brother, I'm gonna text this guy after the stream, I swear.
I'm speaking as someone who actually was a former smaller person, and I had the most body insecurities when I was small. I was constantly living in fear of gaining weight and having people tell me, oh, don't gain weight, don't do this, make sure that your weight is the same. And once I finally gained weight, I realized that first off, life wasn't over. I didn't feel any need to
Yes,
not
life
engage
isn't
in life
over.
the previous way that I had, and the attention that I got was different. But even as a smaller person, you get negative attention. And rather than trying to control my body to avoid that negative attention, I would prefer to address the situation as a society, make it more accessible for everybody to where we aren't feeling like I have to be a certain way that's normal in order to be treated like a human being and respected.
If I could counter,
To be fair, is she fat? I haven't remembered her name, but like, okay, compared to like other people who are in the fat category, Well, she's somewhere in between the skinny and fat, won't you say? Let me check the comments. I don't think we have any comments in the chat. Well, okay. Well, then it's only on my opinion and probably on YouTube comment.
Because I was a bit bigger when I was younger, and that's when I was the most insecure. I would look in the mirror. I did have family members that were skinny, but then I had a family member that was much bigger, and just the way that I perceived myself, I hated it, and I even became anorexic to like not be big.
I don't think skinny always equates to being healthy.
Exactly.
I am fairly
Yeah, but the question is, what would you rather? So the thing is, obviously, that skinny isn't the equivalent of healthy, but more skinny persons are healthier than more fat people. That is just science. So, you know, I haven't learned, I don't really remember a lot of the stuff that I learned from year one at my university. But the one thing that I remember was a class that was called Ukrainian literature language. And the professor told us, probably like the first lesson, remember, always answer the things that are asked in the question. Don't invent anything, answer the question. And the question is, would you rather? So I don't care if skinny equivalents the health. The question was, would you rather be skinny than fat? And the opposite of it is, I would rather be fat than skinny. And I genuinely don't understand these people. They go out in there and say, well, yeah, skinny isn't the equivalent. So I wouldn't say I would rather be skinny. So what, would you rather be fat? I'm absolutely sure he's gonna say no if I would have asked him this question. And it's a question with two answers only. You can't invent the third. Let's listen to Parker.
skinny. I'm 6'5". I'm 140 pounds last time I checked, and I'm severely underweight. And I know about this on a day-to-day basis. That being said, I don't know where I'd want to lean at an appropriate weight level, but I think it's important to understand for some skinny people, we're not living a great life by any means. And sometimes I feel like that's always kind of lost in translation when they see someone who's really skinny.
I guess it depends on what you mean when you think of the term skinny. Are you thinking of just like an average weight person, or are you thinking of how you are now?
I'm the average weight for like women in America.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, the US are in trouble. I love Europe. If what she said is right, I simply love Europe.
if we're talking about an average, like I'm gonna be the closest. If your biggest priority is to be at a smaller body, you need to reassess your priorities.
Yeah, not focused on health.
Yeah.
In the immediate
No, this can't be the average. I mean, I am not. I mean, I could check. Okay, let's check. What is the average? What? Oh, cool. I got a new subscriber, Ulay Shankar. Hey, man. Glad you joined the stream. What is the average weight of an American? 199 pounds, and for women it's 170. What is it in kilos? If you know what it is in kilos, can you tell me? 170 pounds in kilos. Will I ask? Haven't I watched this video already? Ooh, I can actually react to your video. This could be interesting. Asking random questions in school. Yeah, I might react to this, man. But after I finish this one, 78 kilos. Okay, I am approximately 73. So yeah, you're not close to average. I'm sorry.
tie between skinniness and health, like you emphasized. There is such a gap between the research, because the research has a huge fat phobic bias in it, and there has been research that shows that they aren't, even especially during, let's say, COVID and the correlation between obesity. They rushed through those studies so fast because in society's mind, oh, of course a fat person is going to equal someone who's going to get sick faster, is going to get sick easier. It was an easy jump. So they didn't do all of the testing that they were supposed to do. They didn't check their bias.
So
They
if
didn't
by
check.
saying the study is biased,
Yeah,
you're saying
that's
that
all what she's saying. She's just saying that the study is biased. Like, that's not. I mean, I can sit and build conspiracy theories all along, but I'm not doing this because I really am trying to deliver a good message. This is why I picked this for streaming and not some other weird topic, just to hype up.
that the study didn't account for the variable that obesity may also take a factor into. It's just that there's so many variables in humanity that these pharmaceutical companies could only account for so many during their trials. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're biased. However, if you want to talk about bias in studies, actually recently we've been doing the opposite. So for instance, a lot of our studies have been based on BMI. And so we've been showing that, fat people aren't necessarily extremely unhealthy if we look at people with a certain BMI. However, bodybuilders also have a really high BMI, and so they get counted into that category. And so it wasn't until very recently that they equated for that mistake, and it shows, oh my goodness, being fat is actually extremely unhealthy, like way more unhealthy than we ever realized.
You can't gauge health by looking at somebody.
Yeah.
Like, none of my health issues, all of them precipitated my weight gain, but I always get assumed.
Can this girl in the not here, wait.
Do you want to be? All of them precipitated my weight gain, but I always.
Like, they're showing her full screen even though she's not talking. Can she maybe say a word? This video is so long, react to mine is short, that's why. No, man, I am going to react to this video first because this is what we do on this channel.
Get assumed. Oh, don't you want to be skinny so that you don't have a cane anymore and you don't feel like?
Well, I will react to yours if you stick till the end.
And I'm always going to feel like this.
happen
Like, I have
no matter
CRPS. It's going to deteriorate. It's going to continue.
America has an obesity problem.
I mean, Dominic is just going free for free.
I think it's pretty clear. You look at the weight of the average American, you see how obesity has affected not just children. I mean, the fact that we have more younger and younger people who are looking heavier and heavier, and you see that, like, the way that weight affects us as a society, and you compare that to how we were in the past. Now, not that we should always, we shouldn't compare ourselves to the era of the Great Depression when people just couldn't find food, of course, but people are heavier now in an unhealthy way, and people are eating unhealthy. They are eating it through unhealthy access to food. They're eating diets high in seed oils. They're eating high corn syrup. They're doing all this kind of stuff that's not good for them that we didn't used to do, and it's bad. It's not a good thing. It's an epidemic. It needs to be quashed in some capacity.
There's so much
I honestly can't even add anything to Dominic. He's just blasting facts left and right, and it's just too good.
access to just anything. Like, it's so crazy these days, and I'm so surprised that we're actually supporting a lot of this, and there's always
My stream just got banned on YouTube. My stream just got banned on YouTube. Are you serious? Nice. Okay, I guess my content. Yeah, I'm gonna get this channel deleted. I don't care. Let me just. I'll still upload the reactions, so no worries.
there's always people like, like, it's fine that we have like 3 McDonald's like on the same street. And it's just like, we don't think that this is adding to the problem.
What I think is really sad about that is so many people in America just see the profit in it. I don't want to say I know that these people know the problem, but it's like, how can you not see the problem? They have to see it and just not care. They have to just be like, well, we're gaining profit. Do you see how much this McDonald's is making? Put another one across the street. Like, that's just like how it
Just
is.
the
Finally makes
corporations,
a
it's the
Yeah.
medical industry. Having a fat country makes us money.
It doesn't help that our
It's funny because it says that we've detected content in your live stream that may belong to somebody else and was not corrected following repeated warnings of possible abuse. Which is super fun because this is like the 9th stream that we do only this year. The whole thing was that we watch other people's YouTube videos. Yeah, I'm gonna get banned. I'm gonna get banned.
that our cities aren't walkable either.
Yeah,
America is a country of non-walkable cities.
That is why I wavered a little bit because I think we have a problem with how to treat obesity. I think we have a problem with how to make it so that it is not an epidemic. This is a systemic thing, that we are in a society and in an environment that breeds this. And we are doing it to ourselves, we are doing it to our children, and our corporations and our industries are doing it to us, and they aren't having to take responsibility for
And
it.
they're encouraging it with media. So
And the mukbangs, I was literally gonna bring that up. The mukbangs and like all those videos that just come up to
it's
trends for
insane.
people
not
to do
only
it as
the
well.
mukbangs, but also like Lizzo and other big like media.
I don't
Lizzo's
know. I'm sorry.
very
There's a
That's a
very
different-
big difference between the people who are telling people go out and get fat versus a
I love
Lizzo
myself
who's saying
fat.
accept me
Yeah.
the way I am.
She's not just saying
No, she's
accept
not,
me the
yeah.
way I am. She's dressing extremely scantily clad and then saying if you don't think that it's normal for a morbidly obese person to be wearing a G-string in the middle of public, then you're the problem. And they're trying to normalize society to this obese culture, which is extremely unhealthy. And
What is an obese culture?
a culture which like normalizes
I'm obese and I haven't even
obesity.
heard that.
Well, obesity is already normal, so
Well, I don't think it should be
Yeah, it
normalized,
should be
and
normal.
it wasn't normal
But
just a couple
what's the
decades
difference
ago.
between a obese person, myself, walking around in a G-string or a bathing suit, as I do almost every day, and a skinny person? Like, is it okay that the skinny person is doing that?
I don't think so, but
I don't think
that's for other reasons. probably.
I get the whole in public thing.
to say that when Lizzo does it is the same as a Victoria's Secret angel
why
is just
shouldn't
not
it
the
be,
same.
though?
Yeah, what's the
'Cause
difference?
what do you mean? Are you telling me they look? You're telling me it doesn't.
I'm not saying they look the same.
Well,
but
I
I'm
mean,
saying
Lizzo
what's the
goes
I'm
on
asking you what's
stage.
the implication. So if I walk down the street, I'm a runway model. I'm a print and runway model. I have walked down a runway in a thong. So me doing that is shameful, but a skinny model is
like a
okay.
Victoria's Secret
I
model.
didn't.
I wouldn't say it's
I don't know if I
shameful. I
use
would, I like, I don't know what she talked about Lizzo, and I really am not very that deep into Lizzo, so we're not going to be discussing this. But what I would say is that probably, how do we put this correct? I don't know. Body shaming should probably exist in some way. I'm I'm gonna get banned from all social media. But I think that body shaming should exist at least in some sort of way. I mean, I can't explain why it's wrong. Oh, sorry, I can't explain why it's wrong for me to say an overweight, obese person running in G strings compared to a skinny person. I genuinely can't explain why it's wrong. Maybe because I just don't like it. I wouldn't want to see that person like running around. But again, we're kind of in a shared territory. Yeah, I'm actually probably more on the obese side from this perspective. Like, I don't see the problem with them running with strings and etc. I see the problem when they get criticized that they have to lose weight in order to look better in those strings, that they say that, no, we don't. We look good like this, just accept it. That's my problem. But yeah, I'm probably gonna stand up with the fat people here. Yeah, weird. Still not gonna get unbanned from YouTube.
The phrase shameful,
Problematic.
but I don't think that we as a society should be modeling obesity.
But I'm not modeling obesity. I'm modeling the lingerie that obese people need to be able to have availability to buy.
So they've always had the ability to buy
we have not.
lingerie.
If you go to Torrid,
No,
a single
we
underwear is
have
like almost $20.
Yeah.
And you go to like any other Walmart, any Target, and like all these underwears are on special for like $5 to like $20 and stuff.
Well, it
and
does
like,
take more fabric to make it.
It does take more fabric to
They
make
use
it,
that
but
as
it's-
an excuse, but
that
you
would-
make yards of fabric
Yeah.
for gowns.
Is a small a different price than an extra large or a large?
It is.
and
yeah,
we're willing-
for 3XL shirts, I got to pay more money.
I think
Yeah.
people view
Because of the
models.
rarity of it, and because of the rarity, and because how much it goes into producing one. Yeah, Dominic is doing the facts for me here.
And Instagram people and all of us who are plus size and proud.
Please simply shut up and give Dominic the stage. I'm seriously, maybe like correct him in 1 or 2 points that I like have from personal perspective, but overall, brother, you got the stage.
As we're pushing this obese lifestyle. No, I'm pushing the fact that this is what I live in. This is my life. And I need other people who feel this way to say, hey, I want to be able to wear clothes that look cute too.
Okay, now the one
I
that
do think there's a problem with obesity in America, but I think it's a first world country problem because it's spread across the globe. And also,
no. No, and I can tell you as seeing people in other first world countries, no, obesity is not as big as in America.
I don't see it as a problem. I do feel like health-wise, people should try to be healthier, but there's no perfect body. There's no perfect person. There's no perfect size. And there's people who are underweight. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, but there is close to perfect. Like, we can all agree on this.
And then there's a lot of people who are overweight. So I really don't see it as like a problem. But just to touch on what you were saying, because I am in the fashion industry, I wanted to become a fashion designer. My dad was one. And they buy 10 rolls of fabric for one price. So it really doesn't cost that much to make underwear.
Sure, but don't you also have to worry about distribution? I mean, if the average person is, let's say, in between small, medium, large, and you're sending clothes out for those, you know you could send out 10,000 of this, 10,000 of that, 10,000 of that. You can't always send out 10,000 3XLs because you're not going to have that many people fitting in the 3XL.
No, because there's somebody who works in marketing and they research that area. There's a census. So we have a database of what type of people are there. Now, we don't know who's going in there, but we know the type of people that live in that area and the type of the people that come and visit the area. So that person is doing their job accordingly, and usually large sizes are sold out.
Okay, so somebody brought up the food desert earlier. I can't even think of an area that would have a so-called food desert.
Sorry, can someone explain, like maybe just for my ignorance, I'm guessing a food desert is just there's no food anywhere?
No, it's healthy options for food. So you can go into certain low-income areas and you'll see a Starbucks, a McDonald's, a Chick-fil-A, but there's no Trader Joe's.
A food desert actually
There
probably
is just what is Trader Joe's? Because I genuinely Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's. Well, what is Trader Joe's? I'm not American. What is Trader Joe's? Oh, okay, it's like a very, very nice supermarket with all the healthy food. Okay.
properly, there isn't
Should have seen
any,
it coming.
like for a long period of driving, there's
Distance.
one gas station and a liquor store. Then you have to drive 2 more miles to hit the next grocery store.
But with the food desert, it's not just that there can be a grocery store there, but if I'm making minimum wage, I'm not going to spend all of my money on what is going to last me 2 meals versus what's going to last me an entire week.
Yes.
Or if I'm
If-
on EBT
yeah.
and I have specific things that I have to choose to buy versus what I can't buy.
Yeah.
That's why you earn money, you get rich, and you buy whatever you want. I solve these problems like this.
Born and raised in Colorado. In the outskirts, there's so many small towns that you don't even know that they're there. Most of them you won't see on a map, but if you're from there, then you'll know, and they all have to drive a decent amount to be able to go to an actual grocery store.
But how often are you going grocery shopping?
But yeah, I think before Lauren says something, I think it's like even in Europe, you can see this streets, this villages, and again, they don't have this big of an obesity problem.
Maybe like once every 2 weeks would be
I
typically
mean, I think it
normal. So you have
depends.
to do a drive
My
once
family, I gotta
every.
go once a week.
So you're making a drive once a week, once every 2 weeks.
This
I
is
know.
Not a lot
also
of people
saying
have
drive.
access to the
Yeah, like what
time
if I don't have a
to-
car?
I was like, I don't
Like,
know.
I don't
even
And
drive.
if you don't have, usually these food deserts also have very poor public transportation options.
Yep,
So
like in the
you are
mountains.
left with people who are stranded.
Yeah, but then what are they eating at all?
Yeah,
Unhealthy crap.
Like,
No, but how
what?
are they
What-
surviving
what,
at
they're going through
all?
the drive-through? They don't got a car to go to the
Yeah,
drive-through. How are
exactly.
They usually, what I've seen when I go to those rural towns and those rural places is they have chickens and they have animals.
Right.
And guess what? You can get some healthy food out of that. That's
That
like, you know,
sounds
having
healthy.
eggs and protein and things like that. I think I would be healthier if I lived rurally. In fact, my wife and I are trying to leave the state so we're not near all the Uber Eats and all the
I grew
all
up
that
in
stuff.
I grew up in a town of 500. The obesity problem there was not as significant as, say, in LA. And we talk about like food deserts and stuff. The nearest Walmart where I grew up was 45 minutes in any direction. The nearest McDonald's was nowhere near to be seen for a long time. So when I hear these, like, and there could be some evidence there as like the obesity problem is very low lift.
Were there grocery stores in your small town?
Yes.
Exactly.
I'm like kind of baffled by this idea.
Thank you.
And maybe I
me
just
too.
need to go out there and like experience the food deserts, but like there was grocery stores where I grew up. Just because we lived in the middle of nowhere doesn't mean we didn't have access to food. And actually, and I have to agree, we did have access to healthy food. Very healthy food all the time. I don't think this is big of an issue in my personal opinion.
Fat shaming is worse than skinny shaming.
Any shaming is bad. Any shaming is bad. Again, the thing is that usually, like I haven't seen movements of skinny people saying accept me as I am, but I've seen fat people going out there and saying accept me as I am. And to both of them, I would have said, well, no, I'm going to tell whatever I want. I'm going to say if you're too fat or too skinny. The thing is that I have to tell people they're too fat more often.
So I do agree that fat shaming is worse than skinny shaming. Just overall, entirely, the way that people like comment on people's weight compared to somebody skinny, they usually don't comment on somebody skinny. They don't think there's something wrong with them. They don't, like, they'll maybe say like, oh, you're very thin. Do you want to eat a cheeseburger? But that's not as bad as telling somebody you eat 10, stop. And you don't even know that they're eating 10.
Fat shaming is a systemic problem. You're not gonna not get a job because you're too skinny. Skinny bodies are praised in our society, whereas
Exactly. So, again, that's why shaming them is way worse because imagine you're like, why shaming something good should be better than shaming something bad? I don't get your point.
fat bodies, like I don't get it as often as other people, but I get a lot of comments on my Instagram that are saying like, you're really beautiful, but you would look a lot better if you lost 50, 60 pounds.
But isn't it true? Like, don't you think you would look better? Again, I don't want to get banned, but don't you? Okay, I'm gonna give Dominic this stage.
Something that I always get a lot of comments on is my masculinity as a man because of how skinny I am. It's always something that I've always kind of dealt with. My favorite comment is always, I look like a sickly, ill Victorian child. And
That's horrible.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh at that.
no, I don't. It doesn't bother me as much. But
hilarious.
this idea that skinny people can't also get these kind of comments are just kind of mind blowing. That doesn't mean that they're, that one side is getting it worse than the other. I think that there are both sides getting piled on, just at different varying degrees.
I think we're conflating two things as well. So there's a difference between fat shaming and fat discrimination. Fat shaming is an aspect of fat discrimination, but some of the things you were touching on are specifically societal and systemic fat discrimination that goes into our medical system, it goes into employment, it goes into all of our civil rights as fat people. That
Fat shaming and fat discrimination. This is actually interesting. Yeah, I love the opposing side of this conversation today. It's a lovely debate, like genuinely lovely debate that I can listen and respect.
that skinny people don't necessarily have that same issue. And I come from cultures where they straight out called out skinny people. Oh, you look like bones, oh, flaca, all of that. So I watched my cousins go through it. I went through it when I would get too skinny. As people, we are just too scrutinized when it comes to our bodies. We don't let people live.
But I think that's a good point. You said you were called skin and bones when you got
My cousin.
But your cousin. So people using shame as a motivator to get your cousin to not be too skinny. Shame as a motivator is a powerful tool. So the reason I sit over there is fat shaming worse than skinny shaming. Well, you could argue that shaming somebody in order to motivate them towards a healthy lifestyle is actually a good thing. Now, I have a lot of empathy because hearing your story about how you've been struggling with this since you were a child.
Since I was like a newborn baby, like health, just everything's just been on that end where I've never known anything about being skinny or being fit or being athletic. I've never known anything about that.
Probably your situation, I don't think shame necessarily would motivate you, but for somebody where it is a option, so for instance, if you watch TLC, you watch My 600 Pound Life, 1,000 Pound Sisters, Family by the Ton, all of them can do it. All of them have had this systemic issue of weight gain.
I have watched those like as a younger person, and it would make me feel disgusted with me when I was a kid, so it would make me worse, and it made my mental health worse. Because then I'm like, is that how like everybody automatically?
Do I want to get into the subject of mental health? No, I'm too much enjoying this debate. I don't want to ruin it with arguing that mental health comes from you and etc.
automatically views me as just like somebody who's oversized and could possibly never even attain it because it's so just common.
I don't think we should shame anyone to do anything.
No.
I think everyone deserves to like themselves enough to like enjoy life. And if
It's okay when someone likes themselves enough to enjoy life. The problem appears when they try to convince others to like them the way they are. And that's where shaming comes in.
And if you do that as a fat person, okay. If you do it as a skinny person, also chill. It's not my business.
Shame is a broad category. I do think shame works in some cases. I think that there has been good fat shaming towards me and bad fat shaming. Bad fat shaming is just, somebody just saying, you're fat, things like that. That doesn't really work. But what does work is somebody looking at me and saying, don't you want to be around for your kids? And that worked.
I don't think
that
that's
worked.
shaming.
Yeah, like, do you consider that shaming?
I do. I think that's shaming. I think they were telling me like you should lose weight to be around for your children. I think that's shame. Like an attempt to like try and say something bad about me.
Like they're personalizing it towards you.
Bro, I really hope Dominic makes it. I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna actually do it right now. I want to check his profile now while I'm watching this stream. I know I'm supposed to finish it. Dom dice. Sorry. I mean, come on. The guy just so nice and he has these ideas. There he is. Okay, I found him. Well, let me go back to watching the stream.
And towards your kids, like
Sure.
of course, yeah.
But I think that worked. I think that worked. That really encouraged me to go to the gym and start trying to lose weight.
But that's you though.
Sure. I think you have to be specific to the person.
I think that's one thing is it depends on the person.
Sure.
And if someone wants to shame me and it depends on the person. I've been shamed a couple times and it's kicked me into gear to try to gain weight, but it's still really hard.
Sure.
And it's it depends on who you are, I think.
When you were making a comment about people questioning your masculinity, I get the question of, actually looking like a woman all the time, and it's always in play. I always get compared to like male characters, especially when I don't wear makeup, and that's because I don't have boobs, and I can't help that, but it's definitely really, really
Okay,
hard
yeah.
to like
Unlike
have.
losing weight, that is something you genuinely can't help unless you put some needles into this, which is kind of unnatural.
People tell you constantly, like, here's the standard of how a woman should look, and you don't look like that, without even saying it. They don't say it, they're categorizing me. They're making fun of me, saying that I look like this one soccer player or something. And, you know, I think it's funny, but also shame can also be hard, because I can see what you mean. Sometimes it can really motivate you when it's out of love, but when it's out
That's
of
the
pain,
difference.
and when it's out of like not knowing someone
Yeah.
and just saying
Just
it, then
viciousness.
Yeah, the people who said that to me about my kids were not, just some random guy online. It was
Right.
people who were close to me and I knew cared about me, who I had a conversation with. So I do think it matters who says it, but I still would consider it to an extent shaming. And I'm okay with that. I think there is good shame. I think sometimes it helps motivate people in the right way.
The body positivity movement promotes childhood obesity.
Ooh, yes. The reason I would say yes is not that it necessarily promotes it, but it delivers the message that leads to it. That would be my answer. Dominic!
Diet culture has positive effects.
Yeah.
I guess for me, diet culture is an important thing to have for people in the world.
Okay. Nobody said it doesn't have negative effects. Listen to the task. Diet culture has positive effects. Yes, it does. Nobody says that it doesn't have negative. The question is, diet culture has positive effects.
What I've realized after we're about to finish this up is there wasn't a lot of talk on skinny culture or like skinny people as a whole. Maybe that's because of how the prompt is. But I think it's important, if we're going to give positivity to kids who are obese, I think it's important to give them the options to, say if they want to lose weight, they can. And I don't see a problem with that in any real sense.
Okay.
I think that diet culture is a reason that a lot of people struggle with weight problems in the first place. I have even struggled with my own weight issues in the past, and I was like struggling kind of with depriving myself too much because I had a trainer. And then I started binge eating. And as soon as I had like a mental break where I was like physically incapable of stopping something in my mouth, I immediately went to see a doctor, and that doctor told me to read a book called Intuitive Eating, and it wildly changed my life. And it was about getting past diet culture and about how so many people ruin their lives with diet culture. And you see it with like somebody talked about eating grapes and lettuce, and it's grapes and lettuce, and it's just like it's this extreme, and so you go from one extreme and then you break, and then you go to the other extreme, and so like I was in my extreme, I broke, so that's why I'm anti-diet culture.
Yeah, I tried keto for a while. And that's the thing about what I realized is like that fad diet kind of stuff. And yeah, did I lose weight? I absolutely lost weight, sure. I didn't keep it off. And the reason I didn't keep it off is because diet culture is about turning the word diet from your overall eating into an activity that takes place over a period of time. A diet should not be something you do from January until May of next year. Diet is what you continually eat, is what you continually put into yourself. Yeah.
Lifestyle change.
Yeah. So my issue with diet culture is this idea of like, oh, I've got this perfect solution for you, man. All you got to do is this, and this, and that. And it's like, no. Like the reality is like, yeah, there are good, correct, and objective ways, I think, for a lot of people to eat. And yes, everybody has to have some variations here and there. There's no one bag fits all, and diet culture is so much about trying to say like, all you got to do is just eat cheese puffs every day for the rest of your life.
And it's easy.
Yeah. And so that's why I think diet culture doesn't help.
You're always going to get those people who have the perfect answer. They have the perfect solution to either lose weight, or diet isn't just losing weight, it's also gaining weight. And I think a lot of people, maybe it's just for me, but when I diet, it's actually not the opposite of fasting. I'm trying to eat more. I'm trying to gain more.
Yeah.
And I think people forget that when it comes to diet. When people instantly hear the word diet, they think losing weight. And I don't think that should always be the case.
I've been on a lot of diets. I've been on diets for myself. I've been put on diets, and I've been put on diets by my coaches. So when I was young, I felt like it was more so like fasting, not eating, but working out. And maybe hopefully eating once you get home as a reward. And then when it became like, oh, like you're a good person in the team to like be the big person, be the defender, be buff. So it was like, now we have to gain all this weight and we have to pound you out. So it was like, I had to eat like 5 meals in a day. And I felt so gross because I was just like, I've never had to like pull out like a bar or something and like eat it during class and be like, I have to eat this because it's part of my diet.
When we talk about diet culture, we're talking about not your diet as a whole. It's usually a fad diet is what we're talking about when we're talking about diet culture. And for me personally, I know that I've seen a lot of, especially women in my life, going on fad diets that are just not sustainable. And that's kind of the purpose of diet culture, is that it's not a sustainable thing.
But we're all talking about like mainstream, like keto, like gluten-free. And I think everyone's just polarized on these certain ones that I believe that you should eat gluten. I think if you take it out of your diet, you're actually going to get sick.
Unless you are.
Celiacs, no. Like, yeah.
It goes back to like what she said, which is, intuitive eating.
So what is the positive you think you've seen for people from diet culture, which I think, and I guess what do you consider diet culture?
I guess like diet culture to me is the resources you need to get to where you want to be in your life, in your body. That's how I've always viewed diet
By
culture.
dieting, do you mean like journaling what you're eating?
Yeah, if you want to journal, if you want to, talk to a therapist, if you want to work out, if you want to see a doctor, if you want to go on meds, like everyone's
But
always...
it's not being super, like when you diet, you're not being like, I'm completely cutting out carbs or I'm completely doing this, right?
You're lemon water only.
Are you,
Talking
you're
about
like
restrictive
watching your
behaviors.
macros and your micros and you're calculating
Like,
that
I
and you're
guess
staying
if
within.
you're asking if I know how many calories I have to eat, yeah, like I have to eat like 4,000 a day.
When most people talk about diet culture, they've done some sort of extremely restrictive thing, and when you do something really restrictive, it changes your brain chemistry and the way that you think about food, and it makes you obsessive over food, and then, but it sounds like the way that you're doing it is extremely healthy because you're not depriving your body of something.
That's what goes back to like you guys are talking about the extremes of diet culture.
Diet culture is one thing, and then a healthy lifestyle
Having a
and
healthy
intuitive
diet
eating type
is
thing
different.
are two different things.
All right.
I personally don't
Okay.
think of living a
There's
healthy
too many
lifestyle as a
new-
diet.
You've been in
Innovations.
model spheres. Do you see diet culture and how has it impacted the space?
There was a point in my life, like when I was a junior in high school, where the person that I was with at the time, he's like 6'6" and super tall. And so, the mom was like, hey, like my son is gonna go audition to this big agency, which is still big to this day, and you should come. So I went, and I weighed 115 pounds, and I was a D cup, and they said that I weighed too much. And so seeing that really struck me in the beginning with the negative part of dieting, and just kind of went into the spiral of like, okay, well, if I'm too big, then what are people doing to not be this size? Like how can I make it to do what I want to do if this is my limitation to it? It took years later to realize like, shit, I was really disciplining myself for no apparent reason except for this underlying feeling from years ago that I could never get rid of. When you're talking about like discipline, I think it can be really positive with dieting and like intaking your calories, but for me personally, and I'm a very specific case, seeing those numbers and knowing that I couldn't achieve it because I didn't have the appetite was also just so saddening to me, because reading the bare minimum of what a woman needs 5'5" at my age, I was like, that's not that much, and I still couldn't eat it at the time, and I'm like, what's wrong with me? There's different ways to motivate people, and one of them is out of pain and anger, and I feel like a lot of the diet culture, whether it's for positive or negative, is just trying to gear into that. And I just am more about being healthy.
I hear diet and I think of something that's positive, and it's been positive to me, and it's something I'm always trying to achieve. I guess like if we were to
Probably
redo
others.
the same exact question, I may hesitate and not walk across the line. I guess I'll never know, but hearing these perspectives were really good because I probably didn't know as much about the extremes.
I want to thank all of you for sharing your opinions with us and for
Yeah.
challenging us. And I really want to thank you. I thank you for the back and forth. It's something that I came here for, and I wanted to talk to somebody who thinks differently. And I've learned some things, so I appreciate that for all of you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this was actually a very good debate. Jubilee does know how to deliver them. Moral of the story is, guys, please take care of your body and be careful. Like, it is important. It's not that hard as you think, but it's super, super important that you take care of your body. So Zeno77 reacting to Jubilee's debate. We've done exactly 1 hour now. I hope that you enjoyed this reaction. If you're watching this on YouTube, please, as usually, like the video or dislike it, but obviously drop in the comments why did you dislike it. I'll see you in either my other reactions or my other videos. And yes, I hope I'm definitely going to have better lighting, and I hope I will have a better vision. So, in any case, see you in my other reactions.